Welcome to Shattered Reality with your hosts Kate Valentine and Fahrusha. Prepare to have your paradigms shifted and your truths questioned. And now, Shattered Reality.
Hello there, Shattered Reality listeners. This is Fahrusha here, and we are at, believe it or not, January 29th, 2019. The first month of the year is nearly over, and we are about to have our second show of the year. And it is our show number 82 of all time. Number 82 show of all time, Shattered Reality podcast. And unfortunately, again, our trusty co-host, Kate Valentine, is absent. But she promises to come back, so I believe her, and we all hope that she does. So today we have a different and sort of unusual show for you, something that has only barely been touched upon, to my knowledge, in other podcasts, and I do listen to other podcasts, I freely admit it. I was amazed. Some podcast hosts tell me they never listen to other podcasts, and you know what? I think they're lying. I don't know. I shouldn't say that, but that's my opinion. In any case, today we have two wonderful guests, and we're going to talk about a subject that is neglected on shows of this nature. And the subject is Magick stores, Magick with a K, Botanicas, Gris-Gris shops. We've got Magick stores. And we're going to talk about the role that they play in the paranormal and religious beliefs of religions and so-called cults. I don't tend to make a distinction between religions and cults. They're all religions to me, or they're all cults to me, whichever way you look at it. In any case, today we have the very well-known researcher of the paranormal, Mr. David B. Metcalfe, who has been on the show before, and introducing Mr. Jason Mizrahi, who is the manager of Original Products, one of the most famous Botanica supply stores in the entire U.S. of A. And so we're going to start by saying hello, Jason, and hello, David.
Hello there.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to talk about Original Products. And the reason I would like to talk about that first is because of the founder of Original Products is one gentleman named Jason Mizrahi, who at an earlier time in my life befriended me, and I still consider him certainly a friend. I haven't seen much of him of late, but he has this fabulous place up on Webster Avenue in the Bronx that Jason, who's on with me right now, manages this store, Original Products. And when I was in my formative years of being a tarot card reader and a professional intuitive, he would occasionally have me up to the store, and I would do some readings up there. He also had me read at his home for parties and other things, and we became very, very nice friends, and I got to know his family, including Jason and his two sisters and his brother. I think I probably know his brother Larry better than any other member of the family. But in any case, I'd like to hear about the beginnings of the Botanica business. So do you want to inform us, Jason?
Sure. So basically, my dad started off in the business, after he got out of the service in the Korean War. And he went to work for his brother-in-law, Al Amato. And basically the Amato family, they were like really the first ones to open up like a Botanica in New York City, or, one of the first. They were right up there with another guy, Otto Chicas. And this is going back to like the 1920s. So Al's grandfather actually started the whole Botanica business per se. But so just like my father, my uncle Al came from like Turkish and Mediterranean roots, but not in like the sense that, for instance, like my grandparents came from Turkey, but they never really assimilated with Turkish culture or anything. They were Sephardic Jews that came from Turkey, and they went to Turkey because the Ottoman Empire was one of the few places in the world at the time that Jews were accepted freely. And so by the time they came here, they spoke a language called Ladino, which is a language of the Sephardic Jews. So it's sort of like to relate it to for Ashkenazi Jews is they speak Yiddish. So Sephardism, the Sephardic language, sounds a lot like Spanish because it's the language of the Jews from Spain. So growing up in the Bronx in the 1930s, my dad was kind of considered like the Spanish kid in the neighborhood because at that time you didn't have that wave of immigration coming from the Caribbean. So my dad spoke basically Spanish because he spoke and understood Ladino. So both he and my uncle, they saw this as people started immigrating from Puerto Rico and Cuba and the other Caribbean islands, and the more Spanish speakers came. Products that you could very easily find in the Caribbean, when they came to New York, they couldn't find these products. So my family, they spoke the language, they spoke a common language. They recognized, a need for these products. And it started off with only a handful of things here and there, but then as over time, it started to grow. And, one of the things my dad always said was, if you have a customer comes into the store and asks for something, you can be sure that even if you don't have it, he would always try to find it because he figured there's got to be 100 other people that are looking for it also. So my dad went to work for my Uncle Al in Harlem. This is in like the 1950s and 60s. And he ran my Uncle Al's wholesale business in that Botanica, which was Nydia Botanica, which was on 116th Street between Park and Madison up in Harlem. And that's really where all the Botanicas were, Spanish Harlem. So fast forward a little bit, my dad and another guy that was working for my Uncle Al decided they wanted to open up their own store. And so they opened up 2 stores on Bathgate Avenue in the Bronx in the early 70s. And it was really the first time anybody had ever opened up anything in the Bronx, because at the time, the Bronx was still, hadn't had this influx like Spanish Harlem had of Caribbean people. But over time, it started to change. And then one day he was driving home. We all lived in the Bronx on Sedgwick Avenue. He was driving home one day and he saw that the building that we're in now was for sale. So he, put up everything he had and he bought this building on Webster Avenue in the Bronx. And we moved in there in 1975. And we've been there ever since.
Wow. And now the fellow that your father started the original products with was not your uncle and your cousin, but rather this Milton Benezra?
Correct.
Okay.
And
his friend. So it was really like the 3 of them, your Uncle Al and Milton and your dad sort of were working together, although your Uncle Al was in a separate but related business. Would that be correct?
Well, no, in a sense. So my dad and Milton, they left their job working for my uncle and they opened up their own store. So they had their own business separate from Nydia in Harlem.
Okay.
And my dad opened up Original Products, and I asked him one day why he called it Original Products. Why do you decide to name it Original Products? He said, well, when I put the sign up, if we go out of business, I can open up any kind of a store in there. If we go out of business, I could sell sneakers, I could sell furniture, and I don't have to buy a new sign. Signs are very expensive.
He was very smart in unusual, crafty ways.
Yeah.
Well, I remember working up there, the times that I would come in, usually for afternoon sessions, like from noon to 4. I would sit there and do readings. And I remember when I was up there, I think that right now you had mentioned that the business is more Afro-Caribbean. While those people were represented at that time, I think that most of my customers were largely like Hispanic, whether they were from Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, or not so many Mexicans, I think, back in the early 80s or the mid 80s when I had been there.
Right.
But a lot of Hispanic people, and one of the women who was working there too gave me a very, very good tip. She said, while you're sitting there and you are reading folks, what you need to do is put a bowl of water or a big glass of water, because some of these people come in with, bad energy, and you want to make sure that their energy goes into the glass of water and it will keep from bothering you. And that was among the very good tips that I got from other people in my reading practice. So I don't remember who she was. I imagine she was in her 40s at the time, and she was working for your dad. So I do want to thank her if she's still out there somewhere.
It's a good tip.
Yes, it is.
Well, we got some longtime people there. We have one guy that's been working for us over 45 years.
My Lord.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, my dad, when we had the store on Bathgate Avenue, my dad he lived upstairs in the building, in the apartment building above. And my dad likes to tell the story. He paid him $1 a day after school to put candles on the shelf.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's incredible. And is he a practitioner, or is he just a local guy who got lucky and gets to work?
He's a local guy.
That's fantastic.
He actually, he basically oversees almost all the manufacturing that we do.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I love this. I love the way that this intersects so many different cultures, and not only different cultures, but I mean the idea that original products could, if the Botanica business went down, it could switch. I mean, it's amazing how fluid it is, it's just, and that's what I found with Botanicas all over when I go to visit them. It's just the level of intersection with the local culture and the local, folks is just really powerful, even beyond, selling spiritual goods.
Yep.
Well, there are little statuettes of the various deities that I recall from some Santeria people. And what are you doing now in regards to Santa Muerte?
Well, Santa Muerte, we have, believe it or not, one of the newer things that's come out recently that we've been doing is there's actually a Santa Muerte tarot card deck that is really, really, I got to say, it's one of the nicer ones I've ever seen. It's really, really popular. And we also have some gorgeous statues from Mexico that we have a guy down in Mexico who sends us up these enormous, I guess they must be made of some kind of resin material. And then the whole inside of them is filled with precious, like these stones and grains of rice and all sorts of decorative things kind of like embedded in the middle of them.
Wow.
They're really pretty neat.
Yeah, those are the activated ones. That's awesome. I didn't realize you guys got them shipped up from Mexico. That's great. Is that similar with the books then? The Spanish language books? Is that do you guys print those with you, or is that sent up from Mexico? How does that? I'm always interested in how that works.
Yeah, so we used to publish a lot of our own books. In fact, my dad's partner Milton, his son now runs the book publishing division. So it's like a totally separate business. I mean, we're not involved with each other, but like we buy the books from him.
Oh, okay.
So he prints books English and Spanish, but then we also deal with a bunch of other publishers, and then we also deal with a guy who literally will come with like a van, and I go into the guy's van, and he's got all these books that he brings from Mexico that I have no idea who publishes. I have no idea who publishes them. But I go into his van and I grab whatever books I want. And the guy comes once a month.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And you speak Spanish, yes, Jason?
Sí. Claro que sí.
Okay. Wow. So we'd like to, before we go into the general Botanica business farther, because this is a paranormal show, perhaps, Jason, you might have some stories of things that have happened in or around the store that you feel are anomalous.
Well, we have things quite frequently happen. Just a couple, like off the top of my head, we had, we get a lot of people that will come in. It's people coming off the street, and it's amazing what people will ask or say to a complete stranger. So, like for instance, with my dad, everybody would come in and ask for Jocko. So my dad's name is Jack, Spanish Jocko. So they would come in and say, I need to speak to Jocko. So Jocko would come out from the back, and the person would explain to them their problem. And I've come to find a lot of the people suffer from a lot of the same problems. So for instance, if people are trying to sleep at night and they have this sensation that there's a ghost or a spirit that's in their room, not necessarily haunting them, but there's a presence in this space that's bothersome to them, and they need something to help cleanse their room or their house in order to remove whatever the spirit is from their surroundings. So that's a pretty, I would say, a pretty common one. Also, you have a lot of people that have some sort of medical condition that they go to the doctor and, well, let me back up a second. The Botanicas in a lot of these neighborhoods almost are considered like a lawyer, a doctor, all in one. So people are very mistrusting of doctors and modern medicine. So if they have an issue, a lot of people, they won't go to the doctor. They'll go to the Botanica for an herb or some kind of remedy. So people will come and they'll say they have some kind of pain or discomfort in their leg. And they went to the doctor. The doctor says there's nothing wrong with them, but they know that there's some kind of a problem. So they feel that there's some sort of spirit or there's some sort of demon that's in their leg, and they need something to help, get this demon out of their body.
Mm-hmm.
We also had somebody came in once who a woman came in with her son, and she told me that she has this problem that her son thinks that he's a snake. So I said, well, explain this to me. What do you mean he thinks he's a snake? How does this? Well, I have to put the food on the ground in like a dish of, like a bowl. And then the guy slithers up to the bowl to eat and to drink his food.
Oh.
I said, oh, I guess that's what you mean then. But maybe the kookiest one that I've had was a woman came to me once and said, I want something from my husband. So I said, oh, well, tell me what it is. What are you looking for? I figure, something for their sex life, or he's seeing another woman. So she says, well, I can't tell you. I'm too embarrassed to tell you what it is. So I said, well, I understand. Here's a piece of paper and a pen. Write down what it is, that you want for your husband. And then I'll take it to the back. I'll go to my office. I'll read it. I'll put something together for you, and I'll, that you can give to your husband. So she says, okay, that's a good idea. So she wrote down her petition, and I took the piece of paper. I went back to my office. I opened it up, and when I opened it, I said, what does she want for her husband? Poison.
Oh.
So I said, oh, I can't help you with that.
Accessory to murder.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's one thing I don't do.
No.
Poison.
No straight
And I was surprised.
malefic,
And imagine she was a little embarrassed about it.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, I don't know why.
So take note. take note, listeners. If you need to poison your loved ones, original products is not going to help you on that one.
Right. We don't condone it.
Oh boy, oh boy. So those are very, very interesting issues. As I recall, there were women who came to me and were interested in taking their husbands away from other women that they perceived as being threats to them and that sort of thing. And so when that came up, I did send them to the counters to get a potion of some sort that would help them.
Right.
That was Jocko told me to do that.
There you go.
And so I did. But anything that you would say has happened that was truly paranormal?
Well, we had one lady, I recall, a couple of years ago who was shopping. And the next thing I knew, I heard like some commotion, which quite honestly is not that unusual in my store. But I heard some commotion, and this actually stirred me. So I went to take a look, and I looked down the aisle, and the woman had her shopping cart. And instead of shopping, she went from shopping. Now she was on the floor, wriggling around on the floor like she was possessed by something and shouting out all kinds of crazy stuff that nobody could understand what she was talking about. So that was definitely some sort of possession situation. I'm not an expert on that, but that much I know.
Well, I will add a little story of my own regarding a figure that a Russian woman who was in the sex business came to my house and brought a Santeria figure into my house. It wasn't a normal figure like you would see on the shelf of like the doctor figure, which I always liked, the man dressed in black with the black bag. That was the person that I was most attracted to when I was up at Original Products in terms of
Dr. Gregorio.
Yes, I really liked him a lot. I think I actually bought one of the little statues at one point because I don't know why, I was just very attracted to him. However, this woman, this Russian woman, as I was saying, she brought into my house some kind of a Santeria object that she claimed it had to be fed, and she brought it with her all the time. Now, I'm not a practitioner of Santeria, so I didn't know exactly what was going on. But directly after she left with this totem figure, because it didn't look like it wasn't a human figure that she brought, a bat manifested inside the house. It came down a chimney or through a ventilation shaft of some sort, but a bat materialized in my house, and I had to put a carton over it and somehow get it out of the house. And I certainly hope the bat was okay. Is somebody have something that's crackling in the background, because we're getting a lot of crackling noises? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do want to make mention of that. So what do you think about all of that, David?
It's interesting coming from the kind of parapsychological angle, where intention can definitely have an effect if you look at psi performance and that. So it's always, for me, if you have any kind of directed intentionality, you're often going to have some kind of phenomena, especially when that intentionality butts up on, kind of narratives of occult practice. So even if there isn't some other, something spookier going on, if you have a lot of people who are really focused on their practices and that, you're probably going to occasionally encounter something getting stirred up, and then there may always be the possibility that there's something else that kind of goes in there as well.
The other, as it were, whatever exactly. The other is.
The questionable other, exactly.
Well,
and it's interesting though. I mean, that's one of the things that really got me interested in, Botanicas and spiritual supply stores, because there's this wonderful element, like I'd said before, of just community and directness, and it's so connected to people's lives. Like Jason had said, it's the Botanicas are oftentimes take the place of a lawyer and a doctor, so in settling legal disputes and that, and tying this other element of prayer and kind of the spiritual realm into that, I think is just so fascinating. Because I went into Rexall in Atlanta, Miller's Rexall, and I mean, it was amazing because it really was still just a pharmacy, and then they happened to also have this whole selection of spiritual supplies in that. But there's just this fantastic earthiness to it, that you don't necessarily get when you think of New Age occultism or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And now, can we step back a little bit into how you happen to find this particular place in Atlanta? You are a Georgia resident, still, I believe, and you are close to Atlanta, not too far from Atlanta, so you were able to go there?
Yeah, I'm about 2 hours out from Atlanta. But Miller's Rexall is famous. It's the hoodoo shop that's on the cover of Paul McCartney's Run Devil Run.
Okay.
So it's a famous place, and they were in the same spot for, I believe, 50 years or so. They were in there for quite a while. But they've recently moved actually closer to me in Stone Mountain, which is I think Dolly Parton has a theme park there. So now Miller's Rexall, one of the famous spiritual supply shops, is also there as well.
Wow. Now, where is Beale Street, where there are some famous Botanicas? Do we know?
That's in Memphis. Yeah, that's in Memphis, Tennessee. Mm-hmm.
So there are... Go ahead.
Tony Cale, if folks are interested in looking at the history of Memphis hoodoo, Tony Cale has that great book out on that. And he also is doing a lot of speaking engagements recently. So folks should look at him to see some more information on that. He's on social media. He's pretty active.
Yes, we can put some of the links up on the Shattered Reality podcast website so that people can check out a few of the different books, and also the website of Original Products, because I'm sure everyone who lives in the New York area will definitely want to go up to Webster Avenue and give them a visit, because it's very, very memorable. Which brings me to something else that I've noticed. And that is that, except for a few places, maybe in major metropolises in the United States, most of the magic stores, Gris-Gris shops, Botanicas, whatever you wish to call them, are not per se tourist stops, although people, maybe in New Orleans, there are a few places down in the Bourbon Street area that sort of deal with purportedly magic supplies. But by and large, places, even in New York, there are Botanicas, and I know that Original Products supply many of these Botanicas, but they're not, regularly speaking, tourist destinations, nor in other parts of the country. However, when you go to Europe, the magic stores, and they aren't called Botanicas or Gris-Gris shops there. They might be sort of semi-New Age things or magic supplies or whatever like that. They sort of a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Whereas in the United States and in Mexico, certainly, and South America, the Caribbean, it's taken very, very seriously. Now, I have a dear friend who runs a magic shop in Gamlestan, which is the old town of Stockholm, and it's called Isis Camerera. And I'm trying to pronounce the second word correctly. And roughly speaking, I believe it means the Chamber of Isis. And I'm only roughly speaking because Kammer in German is a large room or a hall kind of a situation. So Isis Camerera is probably the Hall of Isis or something of that nature. And that is Margareta Hedden and her sister Gertrude. And they have this small shop, and they're very serious about what they do. Margareta is an astrologer and a good one, and she's quite serious about it. But because her shop is in the old town of Stockholm, it does have this second life as a sort of a tourist destination. And I noticed that to be the case in Vienna and in Prague and other places, Budapest, that I've looked for such things, and I believe in Amsterdam as well. Do we have any words on that? Do we have any London too? Anybody want to speak to that?
Well, I could tell you that probably our largest wholesale customer is located in The Hague, in the Netherlands. And I once went to visit, and I was shocked to see it was, in a fairly busy district. I wouldn't call it touristy exactly, but walked in there, and it was an enormous shop. A lot of these places, they're not just Botanicas, they're something else and a Botanica. So usually it'd be like beauty supplies and a section for like Botanica stuff. So I thought, this guy is buying all this stuff. He must have a huge place just with all my stuff in it. And when I walked in, the place was wall to wall with wigs, just selling wigs. And then he had a little cockamamie counter in the back selling like my perfumes and my incense and candles and stuff. I was shocked. Couldn't believe it. But we have some customers that we send to that have stores in Norway. We have a customer in Sweden. The UK obviously has a lot of stores.
Yes.
But it's Germany. It's very big in Germany, Austria. So it's I would say these sort of things are very popular in that in those parts of Europe.
And are they importing Santeria specifically, or is it just some of the other spiritual supplies that you guys have, like the like the psalm magic and that kind of thing?
Yeah, no, it's mostly like candles and oils and perfumes and colognes and incense.
Right,
I would say.
That's interesting because you have all these regional variations in what folks are using for it. I was surprised in the one in Atlanta. I hadn't seen a lot of, and they were wholesaling from somewhere. It looked like in Illinois, possibly Evanston. I'm not sure. That was what was on most of the stuff that they had. It was a company in Illinois.
Yeah.
But it was surprising, like alligator heads and stuff like that.
Right.
Which, at the Botanicas up in Chicago, I hadn't seen a lot of that kind of thing. But down, in the South, there was more alligator-oriented things and that kind of paraphernalia, which is a bit different. And also a little bit more of the kind of pop voodoo focus, New Orleans voodoo kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely regional, for sure. If you go to the Botanicas out in Los Angeles, it's predominantly, that's where you really get into the heavy, Mexican influence of the Santa Muerte and San Simon and Maximon.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas here in New York, you have some interest, but it's really more of the things that, the Puerto Rican and the Dominican culture, their saints they prefer, and, the types of things that they offer.
Yeah, that's 21 divisions and that kind of.
Right, exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, I just want to mention to Jason and our listeners who don't already know this that David B. Metcalfe, who was with us, also has done a lot of research with the prominent Santa Muerte investigator Andrew Chestnut, who was also on the show back maybe 2 years ago. So I don't know if you want to speak to that for a few moments, David?
Yeah, I would. I'm interested. And one of the things that Andrew and I have researched, we've collaborated since about 2012, after the first edition of his book came out, and it's been interesting to see the we're tracking it online and we're tracking it. Andrew's done a lot of kind of ethnography in that, but seeing the growth of the Santa Muerta tradition, and it's specifically in sales, a lot of the Botanicas and that there was like this transition from, minimal to no Santa Muerta to now, some folks are saying that they do about like 50% of their business, which may be more of the LA and West Coast kind of thing, like you're saying, Jason. Have you guys seen that in terms of sales? Has there been a dramatic increase in, requests for Santa Muerta?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, we only just started carrying, for instance, like candles for Santa Muerte. We only just started carrying them, I would say, within the last, say 5 to 7 years.
Right.
And now, most saints and things we offer, for instance, like Saint Barbara, we'll sell a Saint Barbara candle in red. The Santa Muerte candles, we sell them in white, all white. We sell them in all black. We sell them in all red. We sell a 7-color version. So there's definitely more, more interest in that, and also the statues.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's great that you guys are carrying the ones from Mexico too, because there's a wide there's a wide quality differentiation in some of the stuff you can get out there. And I know a lot of the devotees in the United States are always looking for the more authentic ones from Mexico, and that, and I know there's some Chinese-based ones that are a little bit less. The ones from Mexico, like, I got to tell you, they're not cheap, but I almost cringe when I sell one of the big ones because I hate to see it go. Like that. They really are like pieces of art. Yeah, they're beautiful. Yeah, I have a friend who's actually he's down there quite often, and he's always excited. He's always sending me pictures of the the different types that they have, because that's the other thing too. There's a wide variety of items, and as the devotion has kind of expanded, it's really because a lot of these things it's almost like a form of devotional language. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense, so the different statues obviously speak to different needs, the different colors speak to different needs, but because Santa Muerta has been given the domain of being this hyper efficacious miracle worker, every area of life that she touches, you get a different kind of iconographic statue and different candles and that. So it's so fascinating to see that kind of expand. And also the way it's kind of one of the things that I've tried to point out is that it's been the cross-cultural influences from distributors like original products that has really influenced the culture. And I've been surprised that a lot of the scholarship has ignored that. Because you guys provide a bridge between so many different, magic cultures, or, folk magic cultures, with not only with the different translations of the books that you guys provide, but, providing for different needs. I'm sure that the people in Europe who are getting the candles in that aren't doing it necessarily from a, Latin American perspective, or even a Southern American perspective, or the spiritualist church candle tradition, so it's really interesting to see how these, original products and other distributors like you have really fomented this conversation that scholars just don't see for some reason. Right.
All under that umbrella of spirituality, whatever that is to that person, right?
Yeah, exactly. And even the history, as you were going through the history of the original itself, it's fascinating, right? You get Sephardic Jews providing a service to, Latino customer base in the Bronx. That's incredible. What a beautiful just image of what things could be, these right. these kind of bridges and these kind of things, the shared culture, and then the idea that that's now in Europe as well, it's the distribution in Europe. That to me it's just a really beautiful facet of this thing that kind of gets ignored,
Great synergy there. I wanted to just ask about in terms of the Latin American culture, do you have many items that would serve the Spiritism community, the Allan Kardec Spiritism community, which is still quite vibrant in Latin America, I believe?
Well, we offer his books, which are get harder and harder to come by. Book of Mediums, and we offer those in English and Spanish. But in terms of
you guys, I mean, that you guys are kind of the source for that. I think all the versions I have of that, outside of maybe, I think it's a Book of Mediums by the same folks who put out the Fulcanelli book, and the books, I can't remember it was like Inner Light Publications or something like that. But all my Kardec stuff that I have is from original products. So
yeah,
we have. I was just going to say we have a listenership who are involved with Spiritism simply because we have on Shattered Reality not ignored the, say, UFO sightings of South America. We have had people come and speak about Spiritism as being involved with the Mexican government at different times. And so we do have a listenership to a certain extent that is involved with the Spiritism culture. So it's interesting to know that you do publish those books, and we hope you continue to do so. In terms of the the Santa Muerte, do you most of these statues that come up from Mexico, are they the skeleton bride, the bony lady? Is that what you basically are having in terms of the statues?
Well, the kind of to expand on that, it's you've got the original form of just the standing skeleton-like figure, shrouded, with the holding the globe, or sometimes it's a crystal ball in the hand. But now I've seen all sorts of other renditions where he's sitting in a big chair. I've seen Santa Muertes on horseback. I think we just got a last batch where they were on a horse in all different colors, and so it's different forms.
Have you ever seen the ones that have the hot chilies on them?
I don't think so.
That was one I was surprised by. It was a black Santa Muerta, and it had red chilies all over it, and it had kind of like a cloth cloak, But obviously to heat up your magic. But that was an interesting kind of addition, because I'd never seen it get so. I don't even know. It's so descriptive in its outfit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. So, where do you think this is going at this point? Either one of you can. I don't mean just Santa Muerte. I mean, the whole magic supplies, spiritual essences, colognes, and things that are used for potions, for instance. How do you see this expanding or contracting, or what do you see happening?
Well, I could tell you, I could see it. I see it going mainstream. I see it every Saturday in my store. During the week, I see a lot of regulars. We people that come in and shop once a week, twice a week. I'll go in on a Saturday, which is always our busiest day, and I cannot recognize one customer that's in the store. And they're people of all different backgrounds, ethnicities, ages, and it's just shocking to me sometimes, that I don't recognize a single person. So based on that, I have to think that it's spreading, and people are starting to pick up on it, especially, in times like this where everything is so tumultuous.
Yeah.
People are looking for answers. They're looking for some sort of comfort, which a lot of these products and just spirituality in general provides for them.
That's really interesting. So these are Are these like walk-ins, or do the people they're there for a specific reason?
Walking in.
I'm sorry.
Walking in off the street.
Wow.
And maybe they're not. Obviously, they're not. Bronxites necessarily, right. But they came from wherever Connecticut. They came from wherever they came from, and they came to, and now they come with their phone. And they tell me, I saw this on your website. You have, one of these, and they walk around with their phone and they ask you.
That's great. That's technology
meets spirituality. In my own practice, I will divulge the type of thing that I might use, aside from tarot cards, which is obvious, but the type of thing that I might use with a client, because I work a lot with intentions and intentionality and how intentions can work for people. And it's often the case that people cannot focus at all on anything. Their minds, they're not in control of their minds. They don't know how to meditate. But if you give somebody something to do with their left brain, as they do in remote viewing, like the Hawaii method of remote viewing, those of you who may have listened to this at other times should know what I'm speaking of. But if you give somebody like a rote task to do, and that they do that with their left brain, the right brain becomes more free to focus. So I often tell a client that in order to make their intention work, we'll do a little quote-unquote spell. Now, this is not a spell invoking demons or anything of that nature, but it is just maybe like a quiet prayer in which they have a series of, they have to light this incense, and then they have to put this candle on, and they have to watch the candle, and they walk around 3 times repeating what it is they want to happen. But giving a person certain things to do in their intention, it allows them to put their mind in focus a little bit if they have a set of instructions, which ends up being quite a bit like a spell. Only in some spells, in some cultures, you're summoning spirits, entities, and so forth, which I don't do with my clients for maybe obvious reasons.
You save that. That's for the fun, your own fun.
Yeah, David, that's for my fun. How do you think I got you on the podcast?
Right. Jason, you need more wards up. It looks like she's right. Hooked us.
She got me.
So, burned the Jason candle and the David candle and called in the spirits, and here they are.
That's right.
So, I think that we want to probably start to wrap this up shortly. So do either of you have anything that you want to say specifically about the whole story here?
I would just like to say it's an absolute honor to have this opportunity to talk with you, Jason. This is honestly, it's really cool for me to be able to hear the story, right from your mouth, and to kind of just have this conversation about original products, which has been formative, not only in my research, but I enjoy your products as well. So it's very cool, and also the fact that you guys carry on a tradition, that it's good to hear that that's going strong. Because, like I said, the kind of cross-cultural opportunities that are available through this kind of stuff, it's really needed right now. So to know that you guys are seeing, the business continue, to seeing it kind of stretch out into our technological world now, that's exciting to me. So,
yeah, well, it was a pleasure talking to you as well. For me, it's a pleasure to go to work every day. I really enjoy being surrounded by old people and talking to everybody and seeing everybody and trying to help people and getting to see, what each person that comes into the store, what they're looking for. And, the one thing I'm glad I could get to talk about all this year, because I always tell people the one thing that I always fear, like whenever I go out with my wife or my family, is that dreaded question of, so Jason, what do you do for a living? And then I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, I know all about that question.
Yeah, we know the
That's like a
feeling.
20-minute, that's an automatic half-hour conversation with somebody.
Right. I would know that well. That is true.
Yeah.
I would imagine, not only what do you do, but then you've got a family history as well. I mean, the whole shebang there.
Yeah.
Do you see that going on to the next generation, either with your children or your nieces and nephews?
I don't want to say I definitely do, but for me, I wasn't sure I was going to go into the business with my dad. I graduated college, and my dad was sort of around that time where he wanted to retire. I started working. I'd always worked there as a kid growing up, but I really can't imagine that there's anything I would rather do. It's very family friendly. I'm not chained to a computer 24 hours a day or, on the phone all the time. So like I said, lifestyle wise, I can't really imagine a better setup. So, but I would definitely see it going on.
It sounds just great. And just for the record, I want you to know that question that is asked, what do you do for a living? I'm often a private consultant for life events. That shuts people right up.
That's great. I tell people I'm a lawyer, and that usually ends the conversation right there.
There you go. What about you, David? You have an answer to that question?
I drag them right into it. Yeah, I get them right in there. Yeah,
Okay.
Depending on the situation. I got a little bit hesitant when I moved to Georgia, but I don't know. It's an opportunity to talk about weird stuff, and in a way, if I go too deep into it, then that also is its own, pushback. So I give them the full tilt.
Go the full Monty. Okay.
Yeah, the whole deal. They get all of it.
Well,
usually leading off with Santa Muerta just to set the stage right. So.
Yeah, that doesn't scare the living crap out of most of them. I don't know what will. Well, at least they're not going to be bullying you.
Yeah, exactly. At the most I've gotten folks who want to give me an exorcism or something, which you can never go wrong with an extra exorcism. Just to
Absolutely, a clearing, a real clearing going on there. So well, I hope that both of you might come on a different time, and maybe we can discuss some more subjects, some more topics in this general area. But I think it's time for Shattered Reality to say goodbye now. But we're going to sign off with you two guys and sort of talk about what's coming up next.
Great.
Thank you so
Thanks
much for
me.
being our guests. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye now. Well, that's another round of Shattered Reality. Now, last time we had on Rupert Sheldrake, and I mistakenly said that it was number 82 when it was really 81. So now this is truly number 82 of our podcasts. And if everything goes right, next time we're going to have on a repeat guest, a very nice gentleman, to talk about his new book. A is for Adamski, and that would be Mr. Greg Bishop. And perhaps his co-author might be on, a gentleman named Adam Go-Rightly as well. We haven't gotten in contact with Mr. Go-Rightly yet. But I want to thank you all for listening to Shattered Reality. And hopefully you will like Shattered Reality Podcast on Facebook, on YouTube, and also make some comments in our on our blogs, which are, let me see, I got to get this right, shatteredrealitypodcast.wordpress.com and shatteredrealitypodcast.com. We are on Stitcher and on iTunes as well as YouTube. So thank you very much for the likes. We've been getting a lot of new listeners on YouTube, and thank you for that and the comments there. So once again, it's time for me to say goodbye from Shattered Reality.